Thank you for joining us here at the First Alert Desk on Atlanta News First Plus. As you can see, you're taking a live look right now at APD headquarters, where moments from now we will hear from Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum as he talks about, quote, targeted attacks by extremists, in connection to the future site of the Atlanta Public Training Center. Now, the Atlanta Police has long held these news conferences to talk about recent developments and disruptions, just like the one you're about to hear. I want to talk about some of the recent ones. One taking place in late March involving two transgender women who climbed up a 250-foot tall construction crane on 11th Street. That's near the training center's construction site, demanding that the contractor for the project cut ties with them. Now, this is all in an effort by these protesters who have called themselves the Stop Cop City demonstrators to halt construction efforts and development of this future site. Now, you might be wondering where that controversy is stemming from. Well, the group has raised environmental concerns about that particular area, and they've also raised concerns about what a public training center could mean in terms for law enforcement training and advanced militarization style of law enforcement training. Atlanta Police addressing what they have described as targeted attacks by extremists at the site or in connection to the site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility. You are about to hear from Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum. Now, the news conference is set to start at 12:30. It is 12:32, so really moments from now, we will be hearing from APD as they give an update or additional information about these ongoing disruptions, as they call them, again, to the efforts to develop the Public Safety Training Center site. Now, this continues and has really long continued to be an issue that has plagued not only Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, but his predecessor, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, in the talks and now development efforts of this site. Several critics of the project have again raised concerns about what this could mean for that particular area on an environmental level and also on a law enforcement training level for the surrounding community and the city of Atlanta. Now, the protesters that we are talking about from the incident in late March, they were removed by law enforcement from the crane that they had climbed up on 11th Street and charged with criminal trespass, obstruction, false imprisonment, and reckless conduct. Atlanta Police said the situation ended up tying up resources that should have gone toward the police force's response to a carbon monoxide leak at a nearby elementary school. Now, earlier here at Atlanta News First Plus, we took you to a live press conference that the Stop Cop City group had held where they talked about these two women and their arrest. And they claimed that during the period that the two women were in custody, they faced inhumane conditions while at the Fulton County Jail. And those included allegedly being chained to a wall for 10 hours, being denied access to a working toilet and water, and even being denied access to medication and gender-affirming care. Now, we reached out to Fulton County Sheriff's Office for comment to address some of these allegations about that incident, and the agency did tell us that none of the claims are accurate. Again, we don't know if that's going to be the focus of this particular press conference, but that is one of the recent incidences that APD has had to face in connection to their efforts of developing this future public training center site. Again, this development project has been years in the making, continues to be an active effort from APD and City of Atlanta resources, and this group has really, for them, been quite a disruption, both for development efforts and for public safety. Some of the recent disruptive acts that APD has shared included setting construction equipment on fire, setting police vehicles on fire, and even chaining protesters who had chained themselves to equipment so that it could not be used in active development efforts. So again, we are expecting to hear from Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum as he addresses some of this during this news conference. And again, he did describe this news conference as discussion around, quote, targeted attacks by extremists, which he has called this group in the past, to talk about some of the development disruptions and other acts that have led to arrest, that have led to continued controversy over this site. Again, the Atlanta Public Training Center site, by critics called Cop City, has been really one of the major issues in Atlanta between law enforcement, community members, especially these protesters. And we will continue to cover that on Atlanta News First. I want to direct you for a moment to our website here, where you can see we put out not only this recent development and what will come out of this news conference, but you can go back and read really through the timeline of all of this. So we will, of course, keep you updated across our digital platforms, but taking you back out live to this news conference expected to get underway any moment now, where Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum is expected to address, again, recent attacks on development efforts in connection to the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center site. So we will continue to keep you updated. The press conference that was originally called for 12:30 p.m. is set to get underway any moment now. We will, of course, recap all of the police chief's remarks at the end of this news conference so that you have the full picture on the recent developments. But one of the most recent incidences, and I just mentioned that earlier if you're just jumping on this stream now, was in late March, when two transgender women climbed up a 250-foot tall construction crane on 11th Street, that's near the training center's construction site, demanding that the contractor cut ties with the project. Now, the two women were removed from the crane. They had actually tied themselves to this crane. They were forcefully removed and again arrested on charges of criminal trespass, obstruction, false imprisonment, and reckless conduct. All right, and we're continuing to wait for a news conference called by Atlanta Police to discuss, as they described, and this is their words exactly, a quote, targeted attack by extremists. They're talking about the recent disruption acts connected to the future site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. Again, this has been a long, controversial site that law enforcement hopes will offer a space for them to enact proper training of not only police but medical staff, firefighters. They hope that it enables them to have additional resources, newer equipment, more advanced response training at this particular location. Now, critics of this site have raised environmental concerns, have also raised concerns about what this type of environment could cultivate for the city of Atlanta and the surrounding metro Atlanta community in terms of as they've described in past, militarization style training of these local law enforcement members. Again, they are arguing that this public safety training center site could create more harm for the city of Atlanta than good, as law enforcement and really Atlanta Police Foundation have said is their hope out of this project. Now, this criticism has recently developed into what police have described as continuing acts of violence, and some of those have included protesters chaining themselves to construction equipment, setting construction equipment on fire, setting police vehicles on fire. So some of that is being addressed, or is expected to be addressed here at this news conference, again called for 12:30 p.m. It is currently 12:41 p.m. We are expecting to hear from Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum here momentarily, but again, this is going to talk about the ongoing disruption, some of which we mentioned at the start of this stream, if you were with us, involved two transgender women in late March who had climbed up a 250-foot tall construction crane on 11th Street. Now, again, 11th Street is in Midtown. It's not necessarily near the training center facility, but they climbed up one of the cranes tied to the construction contractor that was contracted for this training center project, Brassfield and Gorey. One of their equipments, they had climbed up it, tied themselves to it using a wire and PVC piping lock. Again, and that demonstration, as the group said, was to demand that the contractor, Brassfield and Gorey, cut ties with the training center project altogether. This was an active effort to stall development of this public safety training facility, something that we have seen play out over the past months and really a couple of years since this project was announced by Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Again, the current mayor, Andre Dickens, continuing that effort into where we are now, which is the active development, the construction team, and the moving parts to get this project complete. So critics who have called themselves the Stop Cop City movement and have dubbed this training center Cop City have made these active demonstrations and have held press conferences of their own to call for a halt of development of this site and raise their concerns, both environmental, community, and public safety, of what this center could mean for the community, arguing that it will bring more harm than good. And of course, Atlanta Police Foundation and similar supporters of this project have said that is not their intent, that they are hoping this facility will offer additional training to address some of the crime problems and public safety concerns that have long plagued Metro Atlanta. So you can imagine the two sides to this, and of course, with this group in late March, they had come out recently with allegations that the two trans women who were arrested at that construction crane site when they had tied themselves to that construction equipment, they said that while they were in custody, apparently the Fulton County Jail had, and this is again allegations from this protest group directly, they are claiming that they were chained to a wall for 10 hours, that they had no access to water or working toilet, that they were forced to change their gender designation on the intake forms that they had to fill out, and that they were denied medication and gender-affirming care. And we, of course, reached out to Fulton County jail officials, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and they have denied these allegations, saying that they are simply not accurate. Now, it is unclear if APD will be addressing this particular incident. I talk about this because it is one of the most recent acts from this group of disruption to the development of the construction site, the public safety training site. What Atlanta police have said is that they will talk about targeted attacks in connection to this site, the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. So that is what we are going to take you to. And again, there have been many instances of disruption in connection to these development efforts, and many arrests that have come out of that. I mean, last year we took you to indictments that were brought or handed up by Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, who had charged 60 people, brought up indictments against 60 people in connection to this group, this Stop Cop City group. And there have been many more arrests to stem from that. So this has been a lot of back and forth and a lot of controversy, and we tried to make that simple for you by laying it out on a timeline. So of course you can go to atlantanewsfirst.com or in the free Atlanta News First app where you can read about that. Again, over 2 years that we have been covering this issue, and it does not seem to be letting up at any point with this most recent news conference that we're about to take you to involving police addressing targeted attacks they say have been made in connection to this project. So we are going to continue to wait for Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum to begin his remarks. We're going to take you to that live here on Atlanta News First Plus. You can keep it right here, and of course download the Atlanta News First app so you can be alerted when those remarks begin, and we will of course provide you with a full summary of his statements and more of Atlanta Police's ongoing response to this issue on atlantanewsfirst.com. All right, and while we're waiting for this news conference to start, again, we were told that this news conference would start at 12:30. It is currently 12:50. We are going to get you out to that news conference the moment those remarks begin in full, but I did just want to offer you that news conference on the left-hand side so we can monitor it together. And on the right-hand side, I'm just taking you through our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. That timeline I mentioned for the Public Safety Training Center, let's start from 2015, because that's really when this all started. The Atlanta Police Foundation was tasked with looking into what a training center could offer the city of Atlanta, what it would cost, what the benefits and the shortcomings could be. And I do believe we have Mayor Andre Dickens, the chief of police, and the chief of Atlanta Fire and Rescue. Let's take a listen.
Police Chief Darren Schilbaum, our Fire Chief Rod Smith, and we have leadership from the ATF and FBI alongside me. Atlanta is the cradle of the civil rights movement and holds a significant place in history for nonviolent protest. And I strongly support standing against injustice and the right to protest. What we've been seeing lately is not a protest for equality, but a way to vandalize our communities. These continuous acts are not about advocating for equality. They are about vandalism and about destruction. And this destruction is happening in Atlanta and around the metro Atlanta region. Pretty soon we're going to show you images from Henry County, to Fayette County, to other places in the area. We've witnessed these individuals continuously exploit the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center as a way to commit acts of violence against whether that be a youth center, whether that be a hospital that's adjacent to a small college, whether that's affordable housing developments or our fire equipment, police equipment, motorcycles, as well as against horse stables. These acts of violence see no prejudice towards any facility. This violence is happening throughout the metro region and even at small business locations. They do not want Atlanta to have safety. They do not want Metro Atlanta to have safety. They do not care about peace or about our communities. And these acts of destruction must end. They must stop. These are not MLK versions of peaceful, nonviolent protest. To the contrary, these are arsons, vandals, they are destructive, and they have committed violence against the people of Atlanta and the metro Atlanta region. There have been almost or just beyond 24 acts of arson or vandalism. And I'm grateful to our law enforcement partners for being there in the need to respond. These individuals have vandalized construction equipment that folks were going to go to work that morning. When those individuals can't work, they can't feed their families. These individuals have caused over $10 million worth of construction damage and property damage across the metro Atlanta area. And that's to equipment that is belonging to private organizations and companies. On and on, this act of violence must cease. And one instance, if you think about the crane incident that happened a few weeks back, these individuals, some of them climbed up on a crane some 100+ feet in the air, and then they needed APD and AFRD. They needed our fire rescue department and our police department to get them down while they were protesting our fire rescue department and police department. The irony here can't be missed. And then individuals later on would go on to commit more acts of violence throughout our metro Atlanta region. Well, here's the news flash. The training center is well on its way during this construction cycle. We will continue to construct the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, and we will complete it during this year. We are well on our way. Construction is happening each and every day. We're moving forward as planned And we're not allowing the distractions to stop us, to deter us from creating a nation-leading 21st century public safety training center for firefighters, EMS, for police, and for the community to enjoy. They're learning anti-bias training, de-escalation techniques, proportionality, even how to deal with mental health challenges, as well as our public works department gets to train out there, our parks and recreation. All of the equipment operators for the city of Atlanta will learn how to drive and be safe on our training course. All of these things are happening because we need them. The city of Atlanta has all these, the training centers that we currently have are condemned. The fire training facility, condemned. The police training facility, condemned. So new fire recruits, new police officers, and veteran officers have to receive ongoing training so that we can keep this city safe and to keep the people of this city safe. So I say to you once again, to the community members of the city of Atlanta and throughout the region, that these individuals are not peaceful protesters. They are violent actors having arson, vandalism, destruction as their main set of acts. These are not peaceful protesters, and I want the community to be well aware of what we're dealing with. And so now I will turn it over to Chief Shearbaum to talk more about specific acts of violence against the people of Atlanta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Always want to thank members of the media for being here. You're taking vital information back to your viewers, your listeners, and your readers, and thank you for getting good information out of this issue. Mayor, thank you for your leadership, making sure we are a safe city, that all functions of city government are being working to protect every neighborhood right here in Atlanta, Georgia. We are joined by our partners today from the FBI. I want to thank Assistant Special Agent in Charge Peter Ellis for being here, for the work of the FBI, the tireless work of the ATF, and for Bo Kalatka for being here and the work that you've been doing to keep our city safe and keeping this project moving forward. Fire Chief Smith, your arson team has been phenomenal, and the arson teams from across the region and chiefs of police and sheriffs across North Georgia that is working to hold this group at bay and make sure this city is safe because we have the proper training facilities to work on. And to the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department, you've been targeted at your work sites, you've been exposed to danger, you've been targeted at your private residences because you care about Atlanta and you're working very hard to keep Atlanta safe. And I will let you know that your work is not going unnoticed. Your sacrifice to keep the city safe, build a training center, while you yourself is targeted, shows me that you are the men and women of the caliber that we want protecting our city. You each have reported on a group of anarchists that are working very hard to make sure the Public Safety Training Center is not built. And they're doing that by acts of violence and arson across the region, and they're doing it in new and unique ways. One of those most recently was targeting our mounted patrol. They took credit just most recently on April the 6th and said, yes, they were the ones that went into a Atlanta police facility, cut the fence, and while they were able to lure one horse out, the other horses remained inside the facility. But that one horse out could have easily been in the roadway when a citizen of this city was driving to work, going to some place to check on a loved one. Maybe they needed to be at a hospital to fill the shift when a horse of this department was in the street, causing imminent danger to them and could have taken out a vital asset that we use to keep this city safe. Those horses are in our parks, as the mayor will tell you, every weekend, during the week, keeping all of our parks safe so Atlanta can enjoy them. Those horses are protecting the Pride Parade. Those horses are protecting the Peachtree Road Race, are deployed across this city, keeping this city the vibrant, diverse city that it is. And this is what a group of anarchists chose to target: horses. You know what else was very telling in that post when they took credit for this? They're asking other individuals to do the exact same thing, to join them in an effort to identify what police facilities are vulnerable and to become creative in attacking them and degrading the ability of this city, of this department to protect the city. Because they're in an effort not only just to degrade the city's safety in the future, they're trying to degrade the city's safety now by going after our public safety infrastructure. Arrests are being made. We have arrested individuals last year for starting fires in South Carolina. We arrested individuals last year for setting a police car on fire right here on Peachtree Street. And just a month or so ago, we arrested an individual for setting fires in Atlanta on July of last year of a police precinct. These individuals are very active not only in Atlanta, but in Henry County. We're a key contributor to the construction of our public safety training center. Had vehicles set on fire in an effort to keep this city less safe. And this department is committed wholeheartedly to make sure that individuals that are using fear and fire on our streets, as well as in other places, will be held accountable by the law enforcement group that is here with me today and those that are hard at work. And why does this matter, ladies and gentlemen? Why do we, our mayor, myself, our fire chief, stand before you repeatedly reassuring the citizens of the city that the center will be built and our first responders? I'm going to give you one example. Just 2 days ago, an individual was outside of one of our hospitals suicidal, firing a gun in the air. Officers went out and encountered him. He still held the gun in his hand. He was begging the officers to shoot him while there was a suicide note on the seat of the vehicle that they encountered him in. Those officers engaged that individual. They wrestled the gun from his hand. One of the officers inserts his finger behind the trigger so that it cannot be pulled, taking his own life for the officers. Those officers were shoulder to shoulder with that individual until they got the gun out of his hand, was safely to get him in custody, and he saved his life because they were trained to do that. We put them through hours and hours of training to be scared. We put them through hours of training to be ready to be in that one instance that this city depended on them, and a family did not feel the pain of suicide. And that shooter did not enter that hospital and harm healthcare workers that were working in that facility. The men and women of Atlanta Fire Rescue and Atlanta Police Department will never turn away from danger or the ability to protect the city. The one thing they ask for, be trained. Prepare us for that opportunity to serve. Prepare us for that moment when we may be called upon to wrestle from a suicidal subject a firearm that he is discharging outside of the hospital. I don't know what this group of anarchists are thinking, that we will suddenly become afraid. I don't know if this group of anarchists thinks that we are not a committed group of public servants that believe in this city, that believe in Atlanta, Georgia. But I want to reassure the citizens of Atlanta, we are not the group that's going to be afraid or step away from our commitment to your safety. And to the men and women of this police department, of this fire department, Chief Smith and I and the mayor, we see your courage and your compassion each and every day. And we are going to make sure you have the tools to keep the city safe. And a group of anarchists will not succeed in that. I want to remind everyone that we have a $200,000 reward up, giving us information for those that continue to start fires to stop the Public Safety Training Center. I mentioned the 3 arrests that have been made. Our federal partners brief us frequently on the progress of the investigation, and other arrests are coming. People integrate their cameras, Mayor. People join neighborhood watches, and people join court watch. And I know the hearts of the citizens of Atlanta. And if you have information of who is trying to keep our city from being the safest city it can be, if you have information who is trying to remove from our firefighters and police responders the tools to keep this city safe, please call this number. Please go to Crime Stoppers and give us the information that you have. Thank you. If we have any questions now that we can answer.
We'll start over here and work our way around.
Mayor, you mentioned the $10 million in damages. Who's reimbursing the construction companies and the contractors that are feeling this $10 million in damages? Is that coming from the city? Is that coming from insurance? Where is that money coming from?
So the $10 million number is a combination of private company assets that have been destroyed or destructed or in some way damaged, as well as even our own police equipment, motorcycles, et cetera. If you remember, motorcycles were destroyed, and other pieces of equipment, a police car in front of a person's house in a community where folks could have been walking their dog or taking a walk. Even those acts are counted up in that total of $10 million plus. It's more than $10 million. We're trying to get a hold of what the accurate number is, but there is no reimbursement. There is no check that we're cutting to the construction companies for this. There's, if a police motorcycle is destroyed, we have to buy another. If there's a police vehicle that's destroyed, we have to buy another. And when I say we are the people of Atlanta. The citizens buy the police cars. The citizens buy the police, the fire equipment, et cetera. So when these vandals and these arsons destroy a piece of equipment, it ends up costing the taxpayer, because it's not like we're not going to have a police vehicle.
Next question.
I have 2 questions. One, Chief, do you think that these people are part of one organization, a loosely formed organization, or are they all kind of operating on their own, just chatting online or doing
We have some clarity into the group, and I don't want to reveal that here today because we have cases to make. We have courtrooms that we need to be in giving this information. There is certainly, they go under the banner of Stop Cop City and Defend the Atlanta Forest. And whatever the motivations are and their structure, we're learning that, and we're bringing charges, and you'll see that in the court documents that we bring.
The one follow-up question is maybe for the mayor also. Certainly early on, there was some public support for some of these groups. Can you talk about that and how this has not just been trying to get the individuals who are committing these crimes, but also try to win back some hearts and minds of people who are maybe convinced of these groups?
Yeah, the good news about being the mayor of Atlanta, being born and raised here, and being duly elected about 3 times, I can tell you that these are not the people that the community supports. The community supports individuals that are looking out for their best interests. The community supports individuals that are building up youth centers, not folks that are arsoning or vandalizing youth centers. The community supports individuals who are building hospitals and not individuals that are tearing down hospitals or attempting to vandalize a church in our community or vandalize people's homes or property or businesses. So while there may seem like someone has told us that there's some community support, the community support is not for vandalism, it's not for destruction, it's not for arson, it's not for police cars being burned up in their neighborhood or for horses being let out of stables. This is anarchism, this is arson, and we have laws on the books for that the community supports.
Next question.
I've got a question that might be a little sort of philosophical. These protesters keep saying that they don't see property damage as equivalent to what they see of as bad policing across the country. And they're sort of trying to send a message. Is there any way to reason with them, or how do you respond to? I don't even know if it's fair to say that's just a false equivalency, but I don't think they see it that way. Is there a way to reason with that?
Yeah, our conversation today isn't to try to reason with the unreasonable. Our conversation today is try to make sure that the people of Atlanta and the region are aware that there are no victimless crimes. These are not victimless crimes. When you burn up a vehicle or you burn up or you set fire to a hospital construction site, that has a victim to it. Immediately, the victim is the construction operator. They can't work that day. The project delays, and then added costs come about because of that. The victim is also the individuals that are needing care in that hospital facility or that youth center where they tried to do a Molotov cocktail and destroy it, or the community that now lives in fear of these individuals' acts of vandalism or destruction. There are no victimless crimes. All of us are the victims of an arson or an attack on a piece of equipment. While the equipment may not be in human form, the residual effects and how it affects us monetarily and emotionally, we are the victims.
The investigation is early stages. I don't want to speak for our partners, but if we look at the stories you've reported on, I think we have a very strong suspicion that it was likely connected. And we'll let the facts take us where they take us.
I assume you guys are still currently protecting the Public Safety Training Center, the future site as you guys construct it. Do you have a cost figure of how much money you guys have spent protecting that site while construction is going on?
Do not have, we don't put a price tag on the safety of Atlantans. We're going to do whatever we're going to do to keep the city safe, whether it's in one of our 245 neighborhoods or it's a Public Safety Training Center site. And so I don't have a dollar amount for you, but it will be sufficient to the level that we can reassure the citizens it will be built and be used for good.
And then a follow-up, in terms of, you guys are saying that the protests are obviously, what they're doing is way over the top with the vandalism and destruction. What would you recommend they do to voice their displeasure for the construction? I don't know who wants to handle that. I mean, what would you tell people right now? What would you rather see them do to tell you that they don't think you guys should do?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Tyler. I will say that there are individuals that have voiced their concerns directly with us. We've had meetings. People have actually added their input so that we can improve what happens at the site. remember, there have been two distinctive groups. We have the citizen group that are neighbors around the site. They provide input, and they still meet monthly or quarterly. All of their recommendations we have added to the site. And then we had the task force that we put together last year of a larger community of about 40 individuals. They provided their input then, and they still have access to us now. So what I say is individuals that want to say, hey, let's do something in addition to this, or here's an idea that I have, or here's some constructive feedback, it's called democracy, and it's called being engaged citizens. And that's why we have all these processes for community input. I've sat in meetings in the mayor's office. I've sat in meetings in communities. Chief Shearbaum has sat in meetings, whether that's in his office or at college campuses, et cetera. There's a meaningful, very productive way to have these conversations. City Council is open to these conversations as well. And there's, we've had conversations with large stakeholders as well as individual singular people. And so I say that to say that the community voice is being received on an ongoing frequency, not only what the site looks like, but what goes in on the site. How are we going to do the training? What community access will we have? Things like parks, things like, how we even situated the site. Remember, it was going to be the access was on Key Road, now it's on Constitution. How we go about, the trees, et cetera. These things are all based on community feedback, and we have actually responded positively, affirming what the community has asked. So I would say reasonable minds know how to communicate. Destructive minds do these type of things that we're seeing.
You mentioned the $10 million in damage. Are any of these companies trying to back out of this project because they've become targets of these attacks?
That's the great thing about having a partnership and being communicative with these organizations. They are firmly still with us. They are out there at the site right now. They are constantly doing their best to continue this construction, and they are committed to seeing this through. They're not trying to back out. We are steady building each and every day. We're vertical. You'll see, we can give you more highlights of where we are in the construction process. No, they're not backing out. They're not backing down. Remember, these individuals have plenty of work that they're doing all across the region. The destruction that you've seen in Fayette or Henry County or DeKalb County, any other places, these are not public safety training center sites. These are sites that are building hospitals. These are sites that are building affordable housing. So these construction companies are strong, robust, and I'm proud of their leadership for sticking with us as we stick with them. As you see the law enforcement agencies here that are committed, they're committed as well.
You mentioned the project is moving along. How far, percentage-wise, is it towards completion? Do you have more of a time frame on when it might open?
I don't have the exact percentage because I'm not out there right now to give you where the percentage exactly is, but we're moving very fast, and you'll see by the end of this year we'll be cutting a ribbon. You'll be able to come out and enjoy that with us. I don't know exactly what percentage we are right now, but I know that individuals are out there working, and they, to their credit, move very fast, and they're doing it and there's been a whole lot of inspections as required for a complex site, and each time we meet the expectations of the inspecting body. So,
Still December?
yeah.
AJC, and then we'll end with.
You guys have talked about the different arson attacks, the estimated $10 million in damage. Once this facility is built, how are you going to make sure that these attacks don't directly affect the training center? These protesters don't directly target the training center. How are you going to make sure that that area is safe once the training center is built?
The same way we protect Atlanta, Georgia. We're smart. We put the appropriate resources in place. We work with our partners, and we will keep the center safe. We work every day to keep Atlanta safe. We are not going to allow the citizens to see this hard work unraveled because we don't continue our commitment. And so we'll do what's necessary, and it will be the right amounts, and you're going to be proud when you're on that campus of what has been done for the citizens of Atlanta through the great adversity that you all have been reporting on for the last 2 years. Atlanta, this is what Atlanta looks like, and we're going to be committed now, and we're going to be committed a year from now when we're using that center to save lives.
All right, last question.
Chief, I want to know, off topic, if you can comment at all on an incident that may or may not have happened at Midtown High School. There was a buzz about it.
certainly we are supporting the Atlanta Public Schools Police Department on this. The call did come through our 911 center. It appears to be a swatting incident. They were reporting a hostage situation occurring at Midtown High School. We have determined that was false. And so the large police presence that you see at the location is just scaling back down as we leave. But I'll say this. What if it had been? What if it had been a hostage situation right here in Atlanta, Georgia, in one of our schools? And what if the fire department and the police department wasn't properly staffed or trained to handle it? The story you would be reporting at the end of the day would be much different. So think of everything you report on the evening news, you write about in the AJC. That is why we have to be a police department prepared and staffed to handle it. And that's why we're here today, to tell the citizens anarchists aren't going to win in Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you, everyone. And just so everyone is aware, if you go to the APD website, at the bottom is a news section. There is a space at the top with pin for APD public safety training related. Everything that we put out is there.
All right, and you just heard from Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, Atlanta Chief of Police Darren Sherbaum, again, taking you through their ongoing response to disruptions to the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center site and really their hopes to develop that into a space for law enforcement to train and to improve their services for the city of Atlanta and Metro Atlanta in terms of response and crime de-escalation and addressing public safety on a whole. As you heard from the mayor, he said that these acts have been extremely detrimental to their development and successes with moving this project forward. I mean, some of what the mayor has said is the monetary impact from construction equipment being set on fire, from police vehicles and police equipment being set on fire, and some of these demonstrations, including protesters tying themselves to construction equipment. All of this has, of course, and understandably gotten in the way of these development efforts, but he said that they are taking this matter seriously and that it should concern and impact Atlanta residents who are ultimately paying the price for this. And again, this is the mayor's words directly in replacing this equipment and moving this project forward as it loses financial money and time to addressing some of these disruptions and these, quote, acts of violence by extremists, as the mayor has said, as the chief of police have said. Now, the chief of police also addressed some of the recent incidents to come out of that. Now, at the start of the stream, I mentioned the one in late March involving the two transgender women who had climbed up a 250-foot construction crane tied to a contractor who was working on this project. And then on Tuesday, construction equipment belonging to a training center contractor was set ablaze in Fayetteville near the Piedmont Fayette Hospital. Now, Atlanta Police Chief Darren Sherbaum briefly addressed this. He said, quote, "The investigation is in its early stages. I don't want to speak for our partners, but we look at the stories that have been reported, and I think we have a very strong suspicion this is likely connected, and we will let the facts take us where they take us." Again, the chief of police saying that he and the Atlanta Police Department believe at this time, again, it's only been a day since this incident took place, but they do believe that this was also a targeted attack, one of which, of many that they continue to respond to and investigate. So we, of course, will continue to keep you updated on the latest to come out of this controversial public safety training center and all of the disruptions and advancements that come with it right here on AtlantaNewsFirst.com and in the free Atlanta News First app. We're going to take you back to your regularly scheduled programming. Local News Live will start now and continue to take you into the 2 o'clock hour leading up to our Atlanta News First news at 3. Make sure you tune in. Thank you.